languages. So in Daf Yomi this week, we came across a really interesting teaching. It says the Gemara asks, what was the reason that the land was destroyed? Like the land of Israel was destroyed. Why we went into exile? And the classic explanation is that they did the cardinal sins. They were involved in idol worshiping and murder and illicit sexual acts. But the Gemara doesn't offer that answer. The Gemara offers the answer that they didn't make a blessing over the Torah before learning it. Because it's an interesting reason. Maybe you may not have heard it before. So there are different explanations for this. Rashi and others say that literally means that they didn't make a bracha over the Torah. You know, like if you're in Merkaz or if you're just following basic halacha, before we learn, we make a blessing over that. They didn't make a blessing. Why? Because they didn't really recognize the great value of Torah. That's what they say. They say that like they were learning Torah all the time, but they didn't really connect to it on a deep level because they didn't connect to it. That led to them. That was the source of it. That led to them doing those other sins because they weren't really internally connected to it to the point that they thought it deserved a blessing. That's a way to understand it. The way that was explained to me when I was in yeshiva, Rav Tzvi Yehuda Kook used to explain it this way, and this was kind of like said to us many times in Yeshivat Merkaz Rav and Machom Meir, which is a continuation, which is where they learn that Torah. He said they didn't make the bracha, the blessing over the Torah before they learned Torah. What blessing didn't they make? They didn't make the blessing Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim. What does that mean? It doesn't just mean they didn't technically made it. They didn't under the right perspective to Torah. When you learn Torah, if you don't have the right perspective, you're not properly learning or living Torah. What's the perspective? You have to understand that Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim comes before V'natan lanu et Torato. God chose us as a nation first, and only then gave us the Torah. And that's the right perspective. They didn't have that perspective, and that led them to doing horrible sins with each other, etc. I'll explain it. If you grasp the Torah as not emerging from us being chosen first, you could say those who are performing the mitzvahs, they're accepted by God. Those who are not, they're not. But if you say that God first chose us to as a nation, and only then gave us the Torah, then everyone's chosen. If everyone's chosen, whether they do the Torah or not, they're still chosen by Hashem. If they bring out their potential or not through the Torah, that's another story. So if you don't have that correct perspective, you're completely missing the point of the Torah. And that's what they used to like emphasize in yeshiva. And there are a few different other ramifications of this perspective, but I think that's just one thing to think about. This idea that when we learn the Torah, everybody's chosen by Hashem. The more we do, the greater we grow in Torah. But this can change how we see each other. We should view everybody as equally accepted in Hashem's eyes and loved by Hashem. And that's the proper perspective.